Hello and welcome to the 7th episode of Unlimited Opinions. I'm Adam Bishop.
I'm Mark Bishop. Lucky number 7.
Lucky number 7, yeah. We'll see if it ends up being lucky at all.
Yeah. I guess we're probably not going to study numerology, are we? I don't know. Is there a chapter? I don't know. I haven't looked at it. But it's not this week.
No. This week is Metaphysics.
Yes.
Yes, the study of being.
It's appropriate that this was the episode after physics.
Yes, because that's metaphysics means after physics. Yes, it's fitting.
Yeah, that's a little philosophy podcast humor.
Yeah, it's very niche type of humor.
Very.
Yeah, so it really kind of focuses a lot on ontology, and ontology is the biggest branch of metaphysics, and that is the study of the study of being with a capital B. So it's kind of separated from being with a lowercase b, but the difference is kind of minute for our purposes here.
To be or not to be? That is the question.
Is it? Is that the question?
It's one of them.
Yeah, I'm sure it is. And so we start off with Parmenides' ontology. And Parmenides is a really confusing dude. I don't know if you read any of the little snippets here, but none of it makes too much sense.
Oh, I thought it made a lot of sense.
Well, not his own words.
Well, I can't read Greek.
Well, that's not what I meant.
But I like this. You know you're heading into a really fun read when the author says, let us now look in detail at some of Parmenides' mysterious claims expressed in his ragged verse, which I've tried to render in an equally clumsy translation.
Yes.
Oh, please continue.
Yes.
Mr. Kenny.
What you can call and think must being be, for being can, and nothing cannot be. So that's why I kind of say he's very confusing, because it takes a little bit of explaining to actually get at what he's talking about here.
You were confused by that? I thought that was
just the wording,
clear.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like almost like an old English way of.
Yes, I guess.
Or like what I consider like it'd be like something that you'd expect someone to say in King Arthur's court.
I suppose so.
Or Yoda or something. It's like the way he has the grammatically or whatever. But
yeah, I guess. But he's really just saying that anything that you can think of or anything that you can imagine must be part of being. And that's kind of like his whole thing, is that there's only ever being and there's no unbeing, because being is indivisible, and it's permanent. So like if we think of like, we can't put a boundary on the things that exist, because what would we bound them with? We would have to bound them with more being, meaning that there is no actual boundary because everything is within being. And so that's why he says that unbeing cannot exist, and it can't even be thought of. Like, we cannot comprehend what does not exist at all, because that's just not a thing that happens. We can only think of what is. It can't be divided, can't be subdivided. It's infinite. There's just being.
Yeah, it reminded me that Old Testament, wasn't it, where God said, "I am who am."
Yes. Which
I thought was confusing before, but I think he agrees with Parmenides. That he is everything.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yes.
Or God is everything.
Yes.
I don't know what gender he is.
Yes.
I just said it again.
Yes. You did.
Yes.
And then he
they're not going to allow you to use gender pronouns soon. The
right?
House of Representatives has just banned it in their official communications.
Really?
Yes.
That's bizarre.
So you can't say niece or nephew. You have to say child of my sibling.
That's really weird.
Yes. Well, yes, it is.
Yes. And so Parmenides kind of continues to go back to him. He says that past, present, and future are all being, all right, kind of going back into the limitlessness of being, in that if something exists, we can't say it only exists now or it only exists in the future. It must always exist, for it's all just part of being, because we can't put those limits on being. Like I said, it's undivided, because if we try to divide it, well, then it just splits into two more being. And so if we can't really split being into anything else, because it's all just part of being.
It's explanatory and also somewhat meaningless.
Yes.
Because it's like, if everything is everything, then you haven't really explained what everything is.
Which, as a matter of fact, Everything is Everything is a song on an album I just listened to earlier today. The Road from Memphis by Booker T. Jones. It's up there on the top. Autographed by Booker T. Jones himself. Great song. Everything is Everything.
Everything is Everything.
Yes.
We should play that later.
We should. I can.
Is it a love song?
No, it's instrumental.
Can an instrumental be a love song? I don't know.
I guess it can.
Huh.
I mean, Pure Release.
Well,
that's not really a love song. That was for a student, but it's kind of become a love song. But
fascinating.
Yes.
But everything is everything.
But I'm glad that I finally tied it back to that, because I've had in the description of the podcast that we would mention 60s music.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yes.
Oh, I could do that more often.
Because
I
would assume that we would have had more references to it, because that's like my favorite type of music, and I figure, well, that'd have to come up at some point. So it's been in the description of the podcast that there would be references to 60s music.
Well, you failed.
And that's not even a
Lucky
60s.
number 7, though.
It's not even a 60s song. That was like 2014, maybe. But he was popular in the 60s. Booker T. Jones is Booker T. and the MGs, the head man there for Stax.
I thought for sure you were going to say it's a song from The Hobbit or something.
No.
But it's not.
Questlove on drums.
In The Hobbit?
No, on that song.
Oh.
On that album.
I see. And Questlove was not an active musician in the 60s.
No, I don't think he was
So we
alive.
still have not had a reference to 60s music.
Well, Booker T. Jones. That was a really awful eye roll there.
I was just explain that to our viewer.
Yes, but back to the book here. Then we kind of mentioned Heraclitus for a brief moment.
Is he related to Heraclitus?
I don't know. What about Protagoras?
No, he's cousins with Protagoras.
Yeah.
Yeah, because he's kind of like the opposite, where nothing is there except for over time.
Because Parmenides kind of says that everything is stable within being. That's kind of his whole thing. No limits, no boundaries. But then Heraclitus kind of says that change is the only thing that is actual being. And change is the way of truth, whereas stability is the way of seeming. And he's the dude a couple chapters ago who said you can't step into the same river twice because by that point it's different water, so it's not the same river. So that's kind of his whole thing, that being is always in flux and always changing. And
I know it's kind of silly to say that, but I think that there is some meaning to that.
Yes.
On the one hand, it is the same river because it's Mississippi River or whatever. Mm-hmm. But it is forever changing, and so it's not the same Mississippi River. It is still the Mississippi River, but it's different now because different water and fish and whatever flow through it.
And Heraclitus would say, well, it only seems like the same river.
Correct. Yes. Well, yeah, that's what he'd say.
That's what he would say, yes. If we could have him as a guest sometime, and we'll see what he actually says.
Yeah, well, he would have to say it in Greek, and he wouldn't know what we were talking about in Mississippi.
No, unfortunately.
Yeah, because they did not know of it.
No. I don't think the Mississippi River was anywhere near Greece.
Now that I Can Tina Turner of Roland, isn't that about the Mississippi River? Da, 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 da.
I don't know. I'm trying to think of the lyrics.
60s.
I don't know. Did they mention Mississippi River?
That's the river. Anyway, that's the 60s. That's the 60s tune.
There we go.
Yeah.
Another reference to 60s music.
Do you have that on vinyl displayed in your
No,
wall?
I don't have any. I can do.
You don't really? Serious?
No.
Oh, I'll have to get some.
Anyway.
Yes.
Plato's theory of ideas. We're back to this.
Oh gosh.
Yes.
My favorite philosopher.
Yeah, I kind of skipped over most of this because it really, we really kind of point out the flaws in it that we've kind of pointed out earlier in the podcast when we first started talking about it.
Wait. You skipped over something before you got to Plato.
Did I?
Well, where they talked about, I think so, unless I skipped it, where the discussion of nothing can come from nothing.
Well, I guess I missed that.
You didn't see what I'm referencing there?
I don't know what you're referencing there.
Okay. Well, well, there's a discussion about Parmenides in the...
Oh, right here, yeah. In the Plato section, yes.
Oh, is that in the Plato section?
I think so. Maybe not.
I don't think so.
Maybe
I'm looking
not. Never
at page
mind.
162.
I am incorrect.
The second full paragraph, and then at the top of 163.
Yes, go ahead. Talk about
that. I was wondering what your thoughts were about whether something can come from nothing, or everything has to come from, like the discussion of, like Parmenides, that being is everything, or what, everything is the being, and the discussion that nothing can come from nothing. Do you think nothing can come from nothing, or nothing has to come from something in order for nothing to become into being?
Well, I don't think we can ever actually achieve nothing, right? Because if everything is being, then there is no nothing.
Yeah, that's what his argument is.
Yes.
So you don't think there could be something created from nothing?
No, the only thing that would be created from nothing is more nothing, because you can't shape nothing into something.
Can you create a nothing?
No, that's what I'm saying. That's what he would say, because everything is within being. We can't even visualize what a nothing would be.
Can you end? Can you make a something into a nothing?
No, I don't think so. I think everything has to be something, no matter what it is.
Huh.
It's like think of something that does not exist. It's like try to think of a color that doesn't exist.
Well,
We can't really do that.
I believe that people who are colorblind probably could. None of them exist for somebody who's colorblind.
I guess
It's
so.
all shades of gray, baby.
I guess so. But even so, they wouldn't be able to visualize the color red. They would only see their different shade of gray. Like we can't
How
visualize.
would you know that?
I don't know.
I-
That's how I would assume it would work. If you've never seen a color, how are you supposed to visualize it?
I don't know.
Well, because there was actually a study on this of like people who were born blind and later like regained their sight, and they were asked to like point out like objects based on how they felt. Like they could feel a sphere and they could say that that was a sphere, and then they were asked to, once they regained their sight, to look at a sphere, and they couldn't figure out what it was. Like they had all these shapes lined up, and you couldn't associate your touch back to that sight.
Fascinating.
So I don't think you could visualize a new color.
Well, I was thinking about, well, I guess as far as the soul, which I don't want to get too much into because that's next week, but your soul didn't exist until you were conceived,
Yes.
did it?
I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm not sure.
We could discuss that. I don't want to get ahead of ourselves, but that would be something from nothing.
Well,
but then you
according
say,
to
well, did your parents create that? So I don't know.
well, according to the hit new Pixar movie Soul.
Well, I'm going to watch that later. don't even tell me.
All right, I won't
That'll be
spoil
for
that
next
for you.
week.
I won't
We'll have
spoil that
plenty
for you.
of
Yes.
Pixar references.
Yeah.
They make that fish movie, Nemo.
Yes, they made the fish movie Nemo.
That's one of my top 10 movies
I know it is.
of all time.
Yes. Anyway, back to Plato.
Top 3 animated, I think. Maybe top 1. I don't know.
I'm just going to try to summarize Plato here in just like a single sentence, because it kind of
Yes,
just goes on
do
just
it.
breaking down Plato
Go.
over and over again. And he kind of says, the ideas are in an eternal world that is unchanging. The entities that inhabit the world are in constant flux between being and non-being. And that's really his kind of whole idea on metaphysics, is that his perfect ideas, they're unchanging, they're constant. But the actual entities that exist, kind of trying to reflect those ideas, those are changing. Those are always in flux. Those are always between being and non-being. And that's basically how I'd summarize that.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah.
He talks also a little bit about forms, which is kind of important to talk because Aristotle makes it much more clearer. But he kind of changes his theory of ideas into a theory of forms. And he says that being, motion, rest, sameness, and difference are all different forms of something that something can take. That's all just part of being again, because like he says, like we all are in constant flux within being, while the ideas are unchanging. And he says being encompasses all that is unchangeable and all that is in change.
Yes, that's a good summary.
Yes.
And I'm going to share my second favorite excerpt from this chapter.
Okay.
Where the author is talking about Aristotle's Metaphysics. And he says, the book is dense and difficult.
I think that is your words exactly.
And the account of it I now give can only claim to be one possible thread to guide us through its labyrinth. Well, I want to pick up that book next.
Yes.
Aristotle
also says, like this one too, Plato is my friend, but truth is a greater one. And then, because truth is a better friend than Plato.
I wonder if he really believed that. Does anybody really believe that?
I don't know.
That truth is a greater friend. It's kind of, I don't know. It seems kind of self-serving or something, like patting yourself on the back. Like I care more about truth than my best friend. Well, you're kind of a jerk.
But he also says about the theory of ideas,
farewell
to such taradiddle.
Yes,
I think that was.
I think we need to work that into our language more.
Taradiddle?
Taradiddle.
Yes, that's a good word.
Yeah. So
then Aristotelian forms.
Aristotelian.
Yeah, same thing. And he was a severe critic of the theory of ideas, like we just said. And he kind of believes that it more so in forms than in ideas, because he really doesn't like the theory of ideas at all. And he says that any form is the form of some certain individual. So whatever exists must be a substance or belong to a substance. And this is kind of what he says about being. So like a substance, for an example of a substance, would be a human. And then something that belongs to that substance, I could say like a happy human. So happy is a form of that substance, so it belongs to that substance. So everything either exists or belongs to something that exists. And so that's kind of what he believes about being.
Yes. Yeah, I guess somebody had to say it.
Yes.
It seems maybe it just seems
Well, it's a lot less convoluted than Plato.
That is true. I also saw the author has used this term that I'd never heard of before, quiddity.
Yes, essence and quiddity.
Have you ever heard that term before?
I've never heard that term before.
I think he made it up. I didn't look it up. I think this author made up the word quiddity.
Well, he says it was based in the actual Greek, so it's similar to what because he says that it's sometimes translated into essence.
Yes.
But really goes back to kind of the Latin quid. So quiddity, kind of. So it's kind of a translation of the Greek, so it's kind of like a middle step between like Greek and English.
Like quid pro quo, this
Yes.
for that.
Mm-hmm. And so with Aristotle's...
Quiddity is the this?
What?
So the quiddity is the thisness of it?
This, yes. It is the thisness of this.
I'd rather have an essence, I think. I think using these unknown terms
I don't know, I kind of like it.
You like it?
I kind of like it.
I think you should get a t-shirt that says quiddity.
I'd get a lot of questions. And so he kind of puts forth there's four principal meanings of substance. So there's kind of four parts to what a thing is. There's the subject, there's its quiddity, like we just said, and its universality, and its genus. So the first substance is basically of which everything is predicated and is itself predicated of nothing. So it's kind of like the atom of something, kind of like the matter that makes it up. So it's what everything's built upon, but in itself, it doesn't come from anything really. So it's kind of like the permanent matter of what there is. There's quiddity, and then the definition that is given for this is what a thing is said to be per se. And so this is kind of confusing, but it's better than Plato. So you are human per se, but you are not a scholar per se, but per accidens. So what something is per se is like what we are naturally. Like I am a human and you are a human. You're also a lawyer, but you're not a lawyer per se. There is no requirement for you to be a human and a lawyer. You are a lawyer per accidens, meaning that you have become a lawyer in some way.
There are some people that think that you cannot be human and be a lawyer.
I'm sure there are many people who think that.
Few of those that I've cross-examined.
Yes.
You're an evil spirit. Go away, apparition.
And so that's kind of his, like, yeah. Try to exercise you out of the courtroom.
Be gone.
Yeah, it says
creature.
Aristotle also kind of differentiates between matter and form. And so, like, the matter is the same between two like things. Like, our matter would be the same because we were both humans, but our form is different. So that's just kind of the differences in just basically our qualities. And so form and quiddity are kind of, he says they're aligned with the soul, which I think will be talked about a little bit more in the next chapter when we get to the soul and the mind. But
it's kind of hard to talk about being without also discussing soul and mind.
Yes.
And I was kind of surprised that he's trying to break this up. But I guess if you're looking at the terms, I guess it's beneficial to establish what you mean by being before you get into soul.
I'm sure this chapter will be very helpful for the next chapter.
I don't know.
Okay. I'm hopeful.
I'm looking forward to the next one.
Mm-hmm. So he kind of says like our form and quiddity, what we are like supposed to be and like what we become. That's kind of like what makes up our soul in a way. But I guess we'll develop that a little bit more. And then our universality is kind of the same thing. It's like what is shared between all like things. And then our genus, it's basically how we are grouped. It's like we are a genus under the animal kingdom. So it's like how subjects are grouped together. I think that's
a good summary.
That's a good summary.
Yes,
Thank you.
Good job.
Thank you. And then the last section here is just on being and existence.
Yes.
And so Aristotle believes that being is not existence in a weird way. And he says being is not a genus as well. He kind of needs to differentiate between being and existence. Like you can be something, and they kind of get into like the linguistics of it, like what is actually means. Like you could say like he is a student, but you could also say he is happy. So what is like the being? What is like the actual like?
Right.
supposed
Yeah,
like
and they talk about like you already kind of referenced the potential and the actual, what is the being,
Yes.
and I mean a lot of that just seems like word discussions of the grammar, the different terms of the word to be, is, was, and stuff.
But he does eventually get to a definition of existence, and he says that to exist is to be matter in a certain form. So for me to exist, I have to occupy this certain form, have these certain qualities, and that is what makes me exist. So it is kind of interesting, like, because if we go back, even though I'm made up of the same atoms, the same elements as you, what really makes me exist is how I have been formed, how I've been shaped by my experiences, and that sort of thing. That's where we kind of get closer and closer to what the soul actually is of a person.
We're getting there.
Yes.
Getting closer.
Yes.
1 week away.
Yes. I'm sure our listeners on the edge of their seat.
How many seats do they have?
I'd assume there's only one for the one listener that is
okay.
listening to us.
You used a plural there.
Oh. I guess I did.
Well, that's what you're supposed to do now. You're not supposed to use his or her. You're supposed to use plural for everything, because that's not confusing.
No, not at all.
Epicureans and Stoics, are we there yet?
I just wanted to mention, like you kind of said, the actuality and potentiality, because even Kenny here says that that's probably his most important contribution to metaphysics, as he defines potentiality and actuality. So like a fat man is fat, that is his actuality, but he has the potentiality to become thin. And so it's not like a requirement of all humans to be thin or fat, but we all have the potentiality to be thin or fat.
I took that comment personally.
That was the example used in the book. I was not making a pointed remark at it in any way.
I got a New Year's resolution to work on my actual thinness as opposed to my potential thinness.
Yes.
I used to be a skinny guy. Moons ago.
All part of being.
That young skinny man does not exist anymore.
It's unfortunate.
Yes. So, is it part of being?
Well, yes.
Is the past part of being?
Yes.
All right, we're gonna go with that.
Not getting into that one right now.
That's a future episode and a past episode. Wait.
And so kind of the last thing that we have about Aristotle here is that he says to study something as a being is to study what it has in common with other things. So really to like define what is a being, define the differences between them, you have to look at what it has in common with all other things. That kind of goes back to all his 4 points about what is substance and everything. So we have to compare it to everything else, compare it to its past experiences, compare it to other like things, and then we can actually find out what a being is, and we can group it with other like beings.
Yeah, I think the only way you can achieve knowledge is to have it referencing other things.
Yes.
Don't you think?
Yeah.
Yeah, isn't that what he's saying?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think so.
In order to know it, you have to be
know
able to,
other things about it,
You
yeah.
have to compare it relative to other things that are the same as it, or different from it.
Was that his belief on location, too? On space? Was that a different person that I'm thinking of? Because he said that everything's location is defined on the nearest stable thing.
Yeah.
Or am I thinking of a different philosopher?
No, I think that's him.
Aristotle?
Yeah, I think so. I don't know. No, I think you're
Maybe.
right. Are we on to the Epicureans?
Yes,
and
let's
Stoics?
you can talk about the Stoics now.
I don't need to talk about them. I just wanted to move it along.
Okay.
That's the end of it, right?
This is the last little section.
I didn't really... He just kind of mentions them. I didn't really see that it was...
Well, he says
really-
even they really didn't talk about metaphysics too much, the
Right.
Stoics themselves. But I do just want to read this quote here. And so they kind of talked about how things are classified by species and genus. And so is there a genus above body? And to that, the Stoics kind of say, here, according to Seneca, the Stoics want to place above this yet another more primary genus. To these Stoics, the primary genus seems to be something. Let me explain why. In nature, they say, some things are and some things are not, and nature includes even those things that are not. Things that enter the mind, like centaurs, giants, and whatever other delusory fictions, take on an image, although they lack substance. And so they kind of say, like, even if, no matter what it is, anything that we can imagine, that has to be part of being, because we're thinking of that thing in relation to what we already know. And so even if it doesn't actually exist, it is still part of being, because we can think of it. It is not unbeing.
I don't know if I agree with that.
I kind of do.
Just really theoretical stories. Is that part of being?
Well, certainly your thought of them is part of being.
I guess it depends on what you define being as.
Well, being is everything, according to...
It's not a thing, though. A thought is not a thing.
Is it?
It is not.
I think it is.
A thought is a thing?
I think a thought is a thing.
I consider a thing something that has physical substance.
Well, doesn't your thought have physical substance and like the electrons that like fire in your brain or however that works?
No.
No? Okay.
Because I can't move it to you.
I suppose not.
I can't copy it
No.
and put it somewhere. I can't.
But you can.
store
But
it.
if I say think of a centaur, does that not transfer my thought to yours?
I just thought of a pink elephant unicorn. So no, it didn't.
Well, you are being, unfortunately, very difficult.
I'm
You're
being obtuse.
You're
I'm rounded to the free end.
being a skeptic. Hate the skeptics.
Yeah, I'm more of a cynic.
Yeah,
I think
you are.
I like as a political philosophy.
Yes, cynicism.
Yeah, we don't trust any of our leadership
No, that's probably for the best.
because they're all self-serving.
Yes, it's a good attitude to have.
Join the cynical party. Nobody wants to do anything because it's just a waste of time.
That's lovely.
Yeah, but I think this chapter is a pretty brief one, and I think important stepping stone to deeper thought, and I think we're gonna have a much better time next week discussing Pixar movies, 60s music, The Hobbit,
Yes.
all things Tolkien,
Yes.
and soul and mind.
Yes. Soul is my favorite genre of music.
Huh. Is it really?
Yeah.
I thought it was rap.
No, it's not actually rap. I'm not a huge fan of rap actually.
Yeah.
It's definitely soul, 60s soul.
60s soul. Yeah. Well, we're going to study it next week.
Study 60s soul next week?
Well, we can, but I'm talking about the soul
Oh, unfortunate.
and mind. And I've got a lot of things to share on that.
I'm sure you do.
Not too hip on the being, because I think a lot of it's just
Yeah, a lot of it can be summarized in the name of that song. Everything is everything. There you go.
true.
That's being.
Well, but we kind of disagree on whether an idea or thought is a thing.
Yeah.
I don't think it's a thing.
Well, that's the thing.
It might be part of my being, I
Yes.
guess, in a way,
Yeah.
because I can think it,
Yes.
but it doesn't exist.
But it's all based on what we already know. It's in relation to other things, so some part of it has to exist.
Interesting.
Yes.
All
Well, I've been Adam Bishop.
And I'm Mark Bishop.
There
Thank
we
you for
go.
the cue.
Yes, and this has been the 7th episode of Unlimited Opinions.
All right.
That was a good episode. Very
Really?
short.
I thought it was horrible.
I'm glad you have a lot of confidence in us. That's wonderful.